I I wanted to make a video addressing everybody's opinions and stress in relation to Zach Cregger's comments on his plans for his Resident Evil film. I am a longtime fan of the series. I started with the first game way back when, and I played them all through. I know a lot about the lore, and I am as annoyed with the all the film adaptations as anyone else. Um, Back in 2015, or no, 2016 or 2017, whenever The Last Jedi was released, um, that was when rage videos on YouTube weren't a thing yet the way they are today. And it started from a place of pure and warranted, proven misdoing to the fan base of the IP. Over the last 10 years, I feel, especially lately, that these rage videos have become, those who started with pure intention to figure out they weren't crazy, figure out like, am I the only one who's seeing that this is bad? Like, um, they've reached a point where they need to keep going, and that over the last few years, these rage videos have turned into finding ways to interpret the worst when people allude to things. And to be fair, we've always been right for the most part. There's reason for it, and I don't deny seeing that it's usually right when people are making videos about what we think we're going to get into based on things people have said before their projects have seen fruition. That being said, over lately, it feels like they're real people, not just the people making the videos, but other people who I speak to, talk to. I feel like they're so jaded that they're only really able to see the worst intentions in when people say things. And to get to the meat of it all, when it comes to Zach, I've listened to his interviews like everyone else, and I'm not hearing what everyone else is hearing. I'm hearing folks interpreting things like when he says he wants to have a new character, follow point A to point B. He doesn't want to do, like Leon's story's been told. My mind goes to Resident Evil 7, where, in my opinion, and other people, I will say I personally didn't and still don't necessarily agree with the first person. I think every other element of that game is true Resident Evil. From an original early games standpoint, or at least the things, it has all those hallmarks that I want in those games that they brought back. It doesn't have everything, but it has a lot. If you're going to compare it to 4 and onward, as there's a large community who are more all about that side of Resident Evil, I can see why they still don't give 7 a chance. And to go back to the beginning here, Resident Evil 7 had new characters, but it still followed those things. He had also, Zach had also mentioned that he's not saying he's ignoring the lore. And so what that's telling me is I'm picturing Resident Evil Outbreak, Raccoon City, other characters adjacent, but not the focus. He has used the term about his story being a character going into hell. I've heard people interpret this as or going into an apocalyptic situation. And I've heard people interpret this as literal apocalypse, like the original movies, which has been a huge, huge thing that Hollywood's always got wrong. That for some reason they think Resident Evil is a zombie apocalypse franchise where it's like it's not high octane in that way. It's not the end of the world has already happened. It's contained. So yes, he would be heading into an apocalyptic setting in Raccoon City, in a contained way. So, and he could mean those other things. He could mean apocalypse. He could. But I don't hear him saying that specifically. I don't hear him saying that, oh, this is what he means. Now I'm going to get upset. Another one is just recently he stated that if he did or didn't have the IP, he's making a movie that he would want to do anyway. I've heard it be interpreted as a story that he's wanted to tell. He said a story that I've wanted to tell anyway. I interpreted personally as it's a story that if for some reason he couldn't make it Resident Evil, he would make it as a not Resident Evil. Something like I forget what it's called. Something Moon, Rebel Moon. Hopefully a better movie, but Rebel Moon was the aftermath of a Star Wars project that got canned. And so it was a story he liked and wanted to tell and wanted to further finish. So he turned it into his own thing. And I believe I interpreted that as what Zach was saying. That this story he's come up with, he likes it so much that he would, if he didn't have the IP, he would still want to make his own version of this story, just without the name slapped on it, change names, change the location, all this. So my point in saying all this is I'm hoping my peers can see this and hear what I'm saying. I'm not saying that they are wrong. I just haven't heard any of them have any kind of hope in their opinions or in what they've heard. Or any of you who have been feeling like this is just another disappointment ready to happen. I will say I have no expectations. I've learned my lesson, like everyone else has, with Star Wars and everything else. I am not expecting this movie to be great or to whatever. Like, I'm just want to stay objective about what I'm hearing and give people the benefit of the doubt until they show us their cards. I have a slight bias. I've followed Zach since Why As Kids You Know. Watched him on Twitch. I'm a doll licker. If Zach sees this for any reason, he'll know what that means. He seems like a cool guy, and people are, I'll have to throw this in here too. He keeps saying how much he loves the games, and I'm a little bit with other people as well, where he does keep saying that, how important they are to him and how much he loves them and how he's played them to death. Throwing in a little bit of, just a little bit of information about that. Let's just go into it just a little deeper, be like, he said he played 4 all the time, which, okay, fair enough. Everybody's played 4 all the time, even people who don't play Resident Evil a lot. So that's kind of a low-hanging fruit to throw out there. Just a little more. Anyway, I just felt like throwing this out because I don't see many, if at all, people interpreting the words of Zach in a way that could be seen as someone who actually is trying to do right by the community. And I hope people can watch this who are jaded and maybe change their perspective, change their mind a little bit, and to go, you have a point. Maybe I should back off on it. Maybe, even just stop listening to anything he says, and see what we get. We might get something pretty good. I for one, am happy that he's not going with just telling the story of the games. I would like a movie of the first game. I would. But I think a movie about somebody in Raccoon City without knowing what I'm going to get into and having a new story in a movie, it would be great to see them make one good movie first, like this, and then maybe see a movie like, you could do this and have everything be crazy and all that, and then maybe you do the prequel, then you do the original. So that's where I'm at. So, may make another video someday for some reason or another. I can't say for sure, but hopefully some people see this and think, hey, he's cool. And you'll want to, you know, see more of my opinions. Um, want to just talk about Resident Evil. I'm a huge fan, um, all across the board. Don't really like 8 very much. It's a fine one-time playthrough, but it's got to be fun to replay. And the hunting thing is terrible. It was a terrible addition. Awful. Okay. Bye.